Hi, I think as humans we get very addicted to the linear conception of things. And what makes this hard is that phenomena rarely operate that way. It's very hard to correlate cause and effect directly like that. So we do the best we can. However, what you think is the cause of your thing is rarely the cause of your thing. And likewise, what we think of as the solution is rarely the solution. So it's important to start to just broaden consciousness, get out of linear thinking as much as possible. And for me, this means following the messages of the intuition, which I call the sacred messages from the body. They're sacred because there's something like a divine heritage that comes through the intuition, which comes through the faculties and the senses and the centers of the body. So when you feel something in your liver, if you go to the doctor, let's take your liver out or your gallbladder, let's remove a piece of it, etc. And that's not necessarily what's going to support. You may have the flash of intuition like, I'm really angry at my father, and then you put that away and you go back into the medical model where they're trying to have you conceive of yourself as some sort of machine that malfunctions, which is the furthest thing from the truth. Yes, you can erode your vitality through a certain set of patterned way of being and thinking over time. However, you have endless opportunities and breaths and moments to pivot and change that. Now, it takes a second or a certain amount of linear time once you change that to see the effects. So what convinces us of what will have leverage and an impact on the equation is the intuition. So we humans are at an impasse right now where it's so loud and we're so barraged with an influx of media at all times that we can hardly tune into our intuition because we've trained ourselves not to. And even when you start to have an intuitive thought, you go Google it, and then that's Google co-opting the mind. Google says it means this. It must mean this. And you even if you're clever and you're using the exact right search terms, that still happens. Like Google is hijacked part of the brain and mind and put it toward a certain agenda, a certain way of being. This thing of the body being a machine that malfunctions, that's empowering for the systems that be. There's a sort of agenda there. It doesn't have to get too draconian or evil, though it may. However, it's just a way to keep people controlled in their way of thinking. This has been happening since ancient times. And what's interesting to think about, is it a certain subset of the minority that want to keep people trapped so they can have all the resources? Possibly. Is it our own unconscious projecting out obstacles that we need to overcome? Probably. Is it one or the other? Probably not. I always say and. It's one and the other. It's both. That's how complex the equation can be and how beautiful. So we want to think like, when I have this kind of disease, it's a karmic thing. It could be. It could be you eroding vitality with non-foods over time and getting the hint, and you need to learn the lesson and you still don't learn the lesson. Like everything is a series and tiers of lessons. So are you learning the lessons? And that's how we heal and reach broader stages of being, heightened levels of achievement, etc., through learning the lesson. One example is if you come upon some money and you blow it all on random things, the next time you come upon money, do you do the same thing, or did you learn the lesson? And if you're in a relationship and you're insecure, so you get controlling, do you do that again when you come into another relationship? Or do you learn the lesson? If you do that again and again, what physiological symptoms and psychological symptoms and neuroses show up in the body and mind? And anything that shows up in the body shows up in the mind and vice versa, because they are one beautifully wedded synthesis. So all is lessons, and we need to learn the lessons, and that's why we're here. We're learning lessons individually and we're learning lessons collectively. So the collective lessons of war and poverty and hunger, and the collective lessons of abnegating responsibility to powers that be. We immediately want to find someone in authority and say, here, do this stuff for me, instead of sitting in our own quietude and figuring out our own equation. Even financially, people throw a lot of money to financial advisors, like, figure this out for me. And you don't see that like all these resources are just going somewhere you don't understand. Or the doctor, take care of this thing for me. If all is lessons and your body is a vehicle for living life, and there's karma interwoven with energy structures, and how can they do that for you? The best request would be, can you ameliorate these symptoms temporarily with the minimum side effects until I figure out what this thing is? That's how doctors can be used. Or can you repair this trauma so I can survive long enough to remedy this and find the root of it? That's another question that you actually could ask someone, because that's their expertise. Nothing else is their expertise. So, as people have been pointing out more and more, if they don't understand diet or human food, and that's relation to disease, which a few do more and more, then how can they support you in thriving? And what's this wellness thing? Isn't wellness a pretty low bar? Like, thriving is a higher bar. Now, sometimes some medical establishments, I remember Kaiser in California, they'd always be like, Thrive was their logo, because they had a little bit more of a holistic context. And they can't really help you thrive, right? Because you need to tune into the intuition and your own soul's journey in order to thrive. Because you acknowledge and learn from and transcend your lessons. So that's the point of this talk here. Like, how do you transcend the human experience through the learning of your lessons? And how do you take your responsibility back? Like, in this paradigm, I'm in the wrong. You are the one that fixes it. Like, quote unquote, fixes it. You are the one responsible. It doesn't mean you're to blame. There's a wide chasm between blame and responsibility. However, we need to start to conceive of what responsibility is, because that's a huge piece of this equation. Like, as Carolyn May says, part of what we're here to do is learn what to do with our energy. We get a finite quantity of energy for this lifetime. And what are you going to do with it? Are you going to heal? Are you going to complain? Are you going to be imprisoned? Are you going to be running from prison? Are you going to be creating something? Like, you're a being that's here to influence the equation by finding the point of leverage. Some people are here to be a certain way, to anchor in a certain frequency of being, according to Dolores Cannon's and Edgar Cayce and a lot of other people's work. Some people are here to actually physically do. They carry their being into doing. And they raise the level of equation. This is like what I do. They raise the level of frequency by clearing aberrations. So if people are caught and mired in fear structures, and they're continually like inundated with news, then they're not going to be able to tune into their intuition. Their fear is going to be incapacitating them. They're going to have all of these other challenges physiologically, because if you look at Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief, there's a very simple human mechanism, and love and fear are creating certain consequences in the body. Now, love and fear are not necessarily accidents. Everything is, in a higher sense of the word love, everything is infused with love. Love is the divine purpose. You move away from that, and you're still like ensconced in it. As Rumi said, wherever you fall, in the tavern or the brothel, wherever you fall into the arms of God. So how are you going to affect this beautiful human life and this beautiful human world? If you die tomorrow, if there's a cataclysm in a week, if there's like nuclear explosions, how are you going to continue to carry your soft heart in the world and continually find ways to help people, support your family, and do what needs to be done? This is the pivotal question. It's not an or, like, I'm going to live a beautiful life or the world's going to end. It's an and. It's like All's Quiet on the Western Front at the end when he gets up to draw the bird and he gets shot. He chose to be alive even though there was war all around him. That's a powerful metaphor. We must do the same. And remember, death is a transition. You go back into the soul or the spirit realms or the in-between worlds or wherever you go, whatever your belief system is. And life goes on. When I experienced an awakening on the beach, it was like, this shall not die. Life goes on. You're experiencing this life from a piece of you that is eternal. So let's live that way. So I hope that helps. I'm Stephen Budden. Subscribe, comment and I'll find you. Thank you.